In Washington, I'd say broadly everywhere else in the world, there is sort of this wait your turn mentality. You can email someone, but if they're the CEO of a company, they're not going to really pay that much attention to a young student or to a young person. And when I got out to Silicon Valley, I was like stunned. Like people just want to talk. And I was like, well, why do people want to talk? And it's like, well, because the incentives are aligned. They don't want to mix the next big thing. And so it was incredible as a former journalist coming out and being able to email anyone and realizing that like people would answer my email. It was like sort of another shock of a different kind. Like people will actually let you in their office, you know?
It should be the opposite, right? When a Washington Post journalist emails me, like that's much more interesting than a cold email from someone with a Gmail address in most scenarios. But perhaps you were feeling as a journalist that people were nervous to answer your emails for fear of being on the record.
Yeah, no, and I also just think this is a different conversation about media that I think was evolving at the time when I moved. There's no upside to talking to the media in the minds of people who are heads down building. But there's a lot of upside to talking to someone who might be your next employee. There's a ton of upside if you're an investor to talking to a young person who might build a new company. But like talking to someone who is only going to get information about what's happening and derail your plan. So that was something where I think had I thought more about it, I wouldn't have been as surprised. But I was just, wow, like people want to talk to a student? Like, you know, this is why Silicon Valley is the most peculiar place in the world, because it's the only place where incentives are aligned with that sort of positive sum mentality. Whereas in places like DC, no one ever turns down talking to the press because it's information trading. It's a consulting class. It's a group of people who very much see a zero-sum mindset, and like the press has a lot of power there because of that. So the incentives of the ecosystems are so diametrically opposed. I actually think, coming back to the thesis, that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen that much innovation in Washington. I mean, they are so different as ecosystems.